This is my All Justice roster prediction. The video's purpose is to go over the characters I expect to be on the game's roster while being realistic with my approach. Now, the first set of characters comes from Class 1A because we were told that all the students are playable. Now, the following students would be new: Ayama, Ojiro, Koda, Sato, Soji, Seto, Hagakure. They would be completely new. These characters have their own set of quirks, so we would obviously see how they work in the game. Now, the other students, as I said, were in the last two games. However, I need to note, I believe there's only going to be one Deku. The main reason for this is that if you look at the first one's Justice compared to the second one's Justice, they changed the Dekus to be more consistent with what was going on during that season. But since the jump from one's Justice 2 all the way to all's Justice, and since we've had a consistent one Deku, he's doing everything that he needs to do. There doesn't need to be multiple Dekus. He has a lot in his arsenal, in his toolkit. There doesn't need to be multiple. And the same needs to be said for Shoto and Bakugo. They have new stuff that they can utilize in their kit, and it doesn't make sense if there were duplicates. There wasn't in the past, but I felt it was necessary to make sense to mention this. Now, getting into Class B. Returning, I do believe that we're going to see a return of Kendo and Tetsu. Now, Shiozaki was in Ultra Rumble, and I believe she would be playable in All's Justice. And the same could be said for Monoma, plus his quirk could be interested in a fighting game. The next prediction may actually have you disagree, and that's Jozo. And during the joint training battle, he gave Shoto and Ida a hard time. His softening quirk gives him a unique approach to fighting. I think if the devs utilize him in a certain way, he could be a cool character. And of course, the other students include the big three. We already know Mirio, we know his two pals, they were in the previous game, they're coming back. And then followed of course by Shinzo and Hatsume. They were DLC characters in One's Justice 2, and I see them coming back for this game. One's Justice 2 did also have Kami, Seiji, and Inasa, and I see them all returning, no doubt. These next two predictions, however, you may doubt them. The first is Mora, and I included him mostly because the Shiketsu high school students are already there, him being the last one that's missing, Adam. And then the second prediction you may actually not agree with at all is Shindo. Shindo mostly because he fought against Muscular, and I thought his quirk was unique enough to where he could be in a video game. Now, he wasn't in Ultra Rumble. Who knows if the devs even would consider him. Then we have the returning teachers. This would include All Might, Eraserhead, Midnight, who was in One's Justice 2, Present Mike. Cementos is playable in Ultra Rumble, and I predict he would also be playable in this game. Now, for a prediction that you guys may not agree with, but hear me out. First off, Armored All Might will be playable. We saw it in the trailer. That's not the part that you're going to disagree with. It's All Might's going to have two slots. He's going to have his regular All Might that we've seen in the previous two games, even in Spin-off, whatever. But then you're also going to have Armored All Might as another slot. And this would be a new character, what he's done when he fought against One for All. Now, getting into the pro heroes, returning no doubt is Endeavor, Hawks, Night Eye, Gang Orca, Fat Gum, and Gran Torino. For all new heroes, which the obvious ones should be Best Genius, Edgeshot, and Mirko. Now, Mount Lady was in Ultra Rumble, and I'm pretty certain they're going to put her in this game. But this next prediction might be one that you might disagree with, and that's Kamui Woods. Now, from the start of the series, I thought he would be a shoo-in in a video game, and I ain't gonna lie, it's insane how he's not in one. Put him in this game. And then the biggest one that a lot of people will predict, no one would forget about her, is Star and Stripe. Her fight with Shigaraki just makes her a perfect prediction. She's gonna be in the game. Then we move on to the villains. And my predictions for the villains, some of them you guys might actually squint and say, what yo? Now I expect the League of Villains, of course, to return as they were in the prior games. Now aside from Shigaraki, as I expect him to be in his all-for-one form, I don't expect him to have multiple entries on the roster. I expect us to get a new version of Dabi as well with the white hair. There's no doubt they're going to make use of a new Dabi, or at least an updated Dabi. Toga, same thing, an updated Toga. Mr. Compress, who was in the previous game, he's coming back. Stain's coming back. Muscular's coming back. Kurogiri's also returning. First one that might get people a little is I expect them to get rid of the old all-for-one and give us a brand new all-for-one, his prime version, specifically when he's reversing back and he looks younger. That's gonna be his new slot. And then I expect us to get Kendo, Rappa, Gentle Criminal, and La Brava twice, Overhaul, and Nomu. I think those are pretty fair because they were in the previous games, but just spicing it up and adding more to pre-existing characters. Then I predict that Gigantomachia is going to be a playable character. Spinner is going to be a playable character. That's what I'm saying. Lady Nigant, Redestro, and Getten. And before you ask, who the freak is Getten? He's the ice character. Do you know how insane it is, despite this man Endeavor wanting a ice and fire quirk, Shoto is the only ice user? But the point is that Getten would offer up variety as being an ice user. Also his fight with Dabi, he gave him some trouble. I think it makes sense to put him on there. And then if you tally up all the predictions plus returning characters, I might have missed some, and swap out some old for new versions, you will end up with 71 playable characters. Now there might be 1 or 2 characters on this roster that might make you say, I don't know. Pretty much these are the characters I expect to see in All Justice. And if you're asking pertaining to Vigilantes and other DLC stuff, I do think there's still room for DLC, whether it's some other characters or there's a unique approach, such as it would be cool if the previous users of One for All were playable. Just giving some ideas. If you enjoyed what I had to say, hey, awesome. Comment down below who are some characters you would like to see in All Justice. Let me know. What yo? Catch you guys in the next video.